Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to this LinkedIn audio event where it's going to be all about unlocking 15 to 25 sales calls weekly. Because we're going to show you guys how, well, we're not going to show you, but we're going to talk to you guys about how to master inbound and outbound lead generation. And oh my goodness, it is one of the best things that we have pulled together for our company. It's kind of like it's kind of like the Cronut. I don't know if any of you guys remember the Cronut or if it's still out there, but it's like meshing of two yummy desserts together, and everybody went crazy for it. So um, that is what we're not going to talk about how to make a Cronut today, but we are going to talk about how to bring outbound and inbound lead generation together for the best outcomes possible, which is, of course, getting 15 to 25 sales calls weekly. So if you guys had signed up over the last couple days, you may have received a message from me in your DMs just asking, wow, a lot of people have been saying that sounds amazing to get 15 to 25 sales calls per week. I don't know if I can handle that much. That's okay. That's okay. Even if you can't get that many per week, if you can't handle it, you need to maybe build out your sales team a little bit. This is still going to be a phenomenal audio event for you. You're going to get so much value out of it. And, just don't be scared. Don't be scared is my thing. If you get that many sales calls from some of the things, some of the tactics that we're giving you, lean in, lean into it. So I don't want you guys to be scared about all these sales calls. I mean, some of you guys are just like, I'm ready to go. Can you get more than 25? Which is awesome. Great. But for those of you who are just like, I don't know if I can handle that many, just lean into it. Don't be afraid. You still want to implement. Implementation is huge. Taking action after these events, after all of this amazing information is going to support you so much, so much. Okay. So I actually have a phenomenal, phenomenal guest to bring up because he's actually going to be he's my partner in crime here. So not in crime. This is all legal, I promise. But Thomas, can you raise your hand so I can bring you on up? He is my outbound. He is my outbound partner in all this. He does amazing work. So him and I we're gonna talk about some of the things that we're doing. And here I'm gonna allow him to speak and bring him on up. Hey, Thomas.
Hey Daniela, how are you doing today? How are you?
Good, good. A little loud. Just go ahead and nice deep voice. You hear that? Go ahead again.
Appreciate it. Yeah, should be
Perfect.
actually quite
Perfect.
good.
Yeah,
There we
that's
go.
perfect. Awesome. So Thomas, thanks for joining me here. You're like my little secret weapon here. Um in the outbound. But I know you and I were talking before we even came on here, and we're super excited because we do lead gen. So both Thomas and I do lead generation. He does outbound, I do inbound. So it's a great merging of the two. You may have missed it, Thomas, but I was like comparing what we're doing to like the Cronut. They made the cronut and just, bringing two delicious desserts together, and it was even more phenomenal together. So that's kind of how I look at outbound and inbound marketing. But for people who may not understand the difference between the two, can you explain outbound marketing in terms of what your expertise is too?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, Daniela, really will appreciate you bringing me on, and for everyone listening, I typically don't do this, so apologize if I'm a little bit nervous. So I hope
Aw.
you guys are okay with that.
Oh,
Yeah, so
give
that's
him
a
some
very
hearts, guys. Give him some hearts.
appreciate it.
He's new.
Awesome.
He's a newbie at this. He's doing great. Go
Right,
ahead.
right. Awesome. Yeah, so the difference between cold outbound and I would say LinkedIn per se is that LinkedIn is more of a brand building and it's a very powerful weapon, especially in the sales process. And what we do with outbound is more or less we stack up the top of the funnel, which means we gather the intent. So it's a little bit higher volume, but if it's done properly, those two aspects go very, very nicely hand in hand and simplifies the sales process in total.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It totally does. And so with inbound marketing, I usually look at that where people are coming into to us. So LinkedIn is where I do a lot of inbound marketing in LinkedIn. It's a lot of attraction marketing. So, um, you know, what I do with LinkedIn is that yes, we connect with people, but we have them coming in and talking to us like in the DMs, and people are like, wait, that still happens in LinkedIn? Absolutely. It absolutely happens as long as you're not trying to, throw them a link to your calendar in the first message. So it's really about engaging people and understanding them and being very curious. So that's one of the things I love doing in the sales process too. It's just like I'm just really curious as to, what it is that you're up to in the world, who it is that you want to meet, and there's a lot more to it than that, but for inbound, it's really people coming into you and having more of that organic conversation, even online. So you can see how both of them can be really powerful because I do find that with the LinkedIn stuff, it helps to have like a top funnel piece where people are coming in, and then LinkedIn can take it the rest of the way, especially if you've highly optimized your LinkedIn profile, where you're building that trust even more. So down right to the bottom of the funnel and getting people to take action. So it's all a beautiful process. And Thomas and we're nerds, so we we're lead gen nerds, so we find it fascinating, and hopefully we can translate some of that curiosity and fascination to you. So speaking of that, my goodness, so Thomas and I were just talking a little bit, and we both watched Alex, um, his webinar this weekend. It was really exciting, wasn't it?
That was probably one of the best launches that I've ever seen.
Right.
It's a roller coaster, definitely a roller coaster of emotions. Was crazy to see the Zoom chat just going wild. Is this guy's gonna sell us today? But the execution was phenomenal. Like, holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the best. And by the way, I hope you know as well. Our team is already done with the entire book, with the course, with everything, and just
Wow.
implementing the hell out of it. So one of the best books as well. So highly, highly recommend it.
Oh, I don't even think I've gotten mine yet. I think I ordered it, so it's still not here. So, oh my goodness, so you guys got the Kindle version, yes?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So we got the Kindle version and audiobook. So like in the first
Yeah.
book, he was talking about just read and listen at the same time,
Hmm.
and yeah, the speed increases. I would
Oh,
I would argue maybe double the speed. So
double the
it's really
speed.
good.
Okay, good to
Yeah.
know. I don't usually listen to audio books. I like to actually I'm a
Okay.
little old school. I like to flip through the pages. I like it in my hands. I'm just like very hands-on. That's just what I like to do. So I will give it a try though. That's really good information. I can't believe you guys are your whole team. Oh my goodness, your whole team's gone through it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it was a
amazing.
requirement right away on Monday, so the entire team is fully up to speed.
So
Yeah.
to give you guys an idea of Thomas, I actually didn't read his bio. I'm going to read it now because it'll make sense. It'll make more sense. So Thomas actually has a really distinct blend of military precision and entrepreneurial flair, right? So he was in the military, so he's all about, what resilience and innovation can achieve. He has a phenomenal career. It began in information security in the military. He was there for 2 years and he honed his skills in safeguarding vital information. So he is probably like the best secret keeper ever. I'm just thinking that that's probably something that is a hidden talent of yours, Thomas. But he's had rigorous training. He's pursued software engineering, laying the foundation for his technological expertise. And you guys are going to find out pretty quickly just how technologically, how much of a guru he is in this. And so he takes analytical thinking and the technical prowess, and this led him to the world of email marketing. And I tell you what, it's so needed. You have to be very precise with email marketing. You have to do A/B testing for it to go extremely well, right? Um, and so he's used this and ascended from a media buyer to a CEO of an agency specializing in e-commerce brands within just 6 months. So he works really fast. He knows his stuff. So you guys are going to get so much good information today. There's more to him. I'm just giving you guys like the Cliff Notes version, but that will help you guys to like make more sense. Like, oh, his team all had to read it on Monday. Oh, military background. That makes sense. That makes sense. So what else can I say to brag about you? I think that's just
So
Cliff Notes. There's a lot more, isn't there?
yeah, one side note on that one, even though it's military background, but
Yeah.
it's not enforced leadership. So I do subscribe to more or less Layla's Hormozy style of leading.
Yeah.
my team, which means either like it's better to lead with enforcement. So just to clarify, yes, it was a requirement on Monday, but everyone got a nice bonus and some gifts on Friday.
So
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 that got that done way
he's a
better.
very nice boss. Yes.
We get the outcome that we want, but there are multiple ways to get there.
I
So
love that. I love that. Oh, not making fun of you all. I think that's amazing. And yes, you're a
thanks.
very nice boss. I've seen you. I've seen you working with your team. But yeah, so you guys read the book and you guys went through it and you started implementing it.
Mhm.
So I think like one of the really interesting things um, that I took from that event was just the four core lead generation tactics. And I was just like, yes, this is exactly, and sometimes I think people are like, well, I'm going to do this and we'll see what comes of it. And then you have Alex saying, like, we did all these things. Like we implemented all of them. And to have a book launch like that, you really got to get good at lead generation. So, so there's a couple that were my favorite and your favorite, I'm sure, which is, one of them was talking to people on social media. So I'm all about that because, I'm all about inbound marketing. And the other thing that I love that he said, and this was the thing that actually saved his I think it was a consulting business for gym owners. He was consulting gym owners during COVID. So when COVID hit, the thing that saved him was actually cold outbound reach for lead generation. What do you
Mhm.
think of that? Not surprised at all, are you?
Not at all, and it kind of makes sense because recently, on Tuesday, I had a conversation with one of our clients, and they've been doing cold email in particular
Mhm.
8 years ago, and they had some technical issues, and they had to shut this down. But once we got them back on running, they're closing deals, and I had a conversation, and they were saying as well, it's like the game is almost exactly the same, just the mechanism changes a little bit,
Yeah.
and that goes back to why it kind of saved Hormozy's gym because it's very resilient, right? So no algorithm, nothing's gonna put you out of business if you imagine this. Once you have a target list, you can print revenue out of thin air just by picking up phone, combining cold email with SMS with additional social media outreach. It's
Hmm.
as long as you have a target list, you will not go out of business with a good offer. And yeah, just hearing this from Alex, it's kind of verifying the idea why we pursued outbound as a first step.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to hear
It's good
that.
validation, isn't it? And I
Oh
think,
yeah.
and you and I are really similar and like we like to test things out, right? We like to test things out. And so we can test things out and we can know with a pretty fair certainty, and it doesn't matter the industry because the systems and the processes all work the same. But we can tell from a you know, pretty fair, not even an assumption, testing that there's certain things that work really well with lead generation and they work really well during certain times. And I think from what I've experienced, if you don't have certain lead generation tactics in your business, you're not actually foundationally strong. And you do need lead generation. You need leads coming in all the time to your business, especially if you're looking
Oh
to
yeah, it's
grow it and
oxygen.
scale it. Yeah.
That's a good point, Daniel, because at the end of the day, it's oxygen for any businesses, and most of the businesses go out of business because they simply lack revenue, aka they run out of cash flow.
Yeah.
And to sell something, you're gonna need leads or from the book, engage leads. I think this is the.
Yeah.
I think if we speak about engage leads, especially what you do on LinkedIn, this is probably the actual goal that we're going for. But yeah, it's oxygen straight up.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's not that you can't employ other lead generation tactics. You absolutely can. There was two other really great ones that he talked about, which is posting free content. So Alex talked about posting free content and then rewarding people for the more content they engage with. I love that. That's brilliant. Um, and also learning to run paid ads. Now, here's the thing though too with the content is that sometimes this is just what I've noticed. Actually I've tested it. Sometimes content is actually not necessarily where you want to start. And here's the reason why. Because people are the you're ideally you want your ideal clients to consume your content, right? A lot of people leave their content creation to assumption. And by that, I mean they create content for their ideal client, but it's actually not what their ideal client is interested in reading. And so they've skipped it. They've skipped the line. And so what it actually helps them at the beginning is talking to their ideal client, just talking to them. And so you can do that really effectively on social media. It's one of the best places. So what I tell everybody, I'm like, if you're not getting people to read your content, and there's a lot of lurkers. I probably have thousands of lurkers at this time. They're reading my content. I know they are because they come in and they DM me and ask me more questions. And so I know I've really hit the mark when I have about 5 people coming in within an hour after I put a piece of content on LinkedIn, and they're asking me clarifying questions, or they're asking, well, how do you do that? Or, can I jump on a sales call with you, to understand what process you could help me with. And so that's when you've really landed that content piece. So what I like to tell everybody, I'm like, take your, take your time with creating the content, talk to your people first. And it's really interesting because we were talking about ads and stuff, and sometimes the ads can be the same thing that content can be. So ads can be the same thing for outbound that content creation can be for inbound, um, which is that sometimes you're running, and there's a couple different ways to look at this, and I'll let Thomas take over. But sometimes you're too early on running paid ads because you need to clarify some things first. So you want to take this one over because you had such a great
Yeah,
point
yeah,
on
I have
this.
so many thoughts as you were talking about that. So content is obviously I'm very new to content, and one of the reasons, again, just going back to the book, and again, we're already implementing this, aka I'm on this event here, so we're creating some sort of content already.
Hmm.
But with content, especially it depends on where you are with your business, is that content takes time to be a lead producer.
Yeah.
So looking at content, I would say there are two ways. One, content can help your sales process, or two, content can generate you engaged leads.
Hmm.
But first, essentially, when we create content right now, we think about awesome, what objections or what questions our ideal client might have.
Yeah.
And this is an entirely different content type, rather than generating leads, or more or less broader to increase your overall audience. So a content is a very, very difficult game, I would say. Hormozi already mastered that to some degree. But
Hmm.
to your point, Danielle, we've run ads as well. We spent on Twitter alone in February, we spent 18K, and the month after 25.
Hmm.
And the reason we were able to do that, because we already had a verified offer. And if
Yeah.
we wouldn't have verified the offer with outbound, we would not know what works. To
Yeah.
be very, very specific here, what do I mean by verifying the offer? First, sounds silly, but we tested the subject lines or the hooks in
Yep.
the emails themselves.
Yep.
So the first seconds in the ad video that we had was our first hook in the email. And we know it works because people who never heard about us, they don't know who we are, and they still engage with us. And we're going to talk about that in a second, about the actual lead magnet and value hook.
Hmm.
But just to grab attention, we already had data that it works. So to circle back to your point, I would definitely say that cold outbound is way, way more cost efficient to verify the hook
Yeah.
and the entire lead magnet and the offer. And with ads, you can just add gasoline to the fire.
Yep.
So this is how I see this beautiful relationship between well, outbound. It could
Hmm.
be called email, could be called LinkedIn, phone calls, but then just adding ads on top of that. And I know Hormozi started it in a little bit different way, that he ramped up ads.
Yeah.
But right now, there are some podcasts that he talks, and he's like, "Yep, outbound is the first thing that I would do,
Yeah.
together with content, and then ramp up everything on ads."
Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful model, beautiful, like a flow, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I just
Yeah.
I just want to
Yeah.
verify.
No,
Okay.
no, it does. So what he's saying, guys, is that um, if you're going to verify anything and what's working, what your ideal clients are going to actually open, email subject header line is a great way of doing that. It is one of those things that once you get it right and you're seeing people open an email, consider how many emails they're getting in their inbox every single day, right? And if you nail that hook, then guess what that can go into? That can go into your Facebook ads. The other thing it can go into your content. like content that you post on social media. It's that hook that will stop the scroll. And if you can stop the scroll, and especially as inundated as we are today with content and information, then you've nailed it. You've nailed what it is that your ideal client is interested in. And that is where most people struggle. That's where they struggle. It's that hook.
Do you mind if I just jump in? I'm gonna
Yeah.
be a little bit technical. A little,
Yeah.
I want to like
No, it's great. Be
provide a little
technical.
bit tactical. Yeah, more tactical. So what we do, especially with ads, because we're geeking out on that right now, very heavily,
Hmm.
is we take everything and a step back from the first principle. And the beauty with outbound is we create the list, our ICP list, ideal client list,
Hmm.
before we even write the copy. That means that if somebody doesn't respond to the outbound, we know that it's not the targeting component, it's always the messaging. Now, when we go to ads and let's say we have the same messaging,
Hmm.
but then the ads don't perform well, we don't tweak necessarily the ad itself first
Hmm.
because we already verified that our ideal client profile responds to the messaging. So most of the time, it's easier to find the bottlenecks, to find the issues on ads because if you run only ads, the the question that you always or we always had was, is the bottleneck the ad creative,
Hmm.
meaning the ad itself, or
Hmm.
the targeting? And right now, when we run ads, we always know that the issue is the targeting.
Yeah.
So it helps to spend less on ads and get higher return on ad spend there. And we've seen with this strategy when we started running ads, or one of our clients, to be honest, one of our clients run ads before outbound.
Yeah.
They had 1.2 ROAS. After outbound, with dialed in messaging and at the same time targeting, they had a 3.7 ROAS.
Uh-huh.
Um, Again, it was just an outbound verification process. So takeaway, it's easier to fix ads if you already run outbound rather than you run only ads.
Okay, so
Um,
let's dig
yeah, I
into
just want to
that a
mention
little bit.
that.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay,
Yeah.
so I just want to make sure that everybody, I mean, I understand it because we're in it. So let's just clarify this a little bit more. So what Thomas is saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that when it comes to outbound, so we're going to use Facebook ads in this example, it's a lot easier for you to test the target audience, then assume it's the creative piece. And the creative piece for ads, guys, is like the content, the pictures, and all of that. Is that what you're saying, Thomas?
Exactly. Then you have to work only on one single variable
Yep.
rather than trying to figure out multiple variables at the same time.
Perfect. So and when you're trying to figure out multiple variables on Facebook ads specifically, guys, then it's like, oh gosh, do we have to change the photo? Do we have to change the whole all the content? And A/B testing dictates that's a copywriting email marketing thing. A/B testing dictates you change one little thing to know, but that's really time consuming and costly to do on Facebook ads. Thomas is saying that it's actually better to test out a different target audience. And so I think that that's something right here where email marketing, it can be easier to test that out first, right? With your outbound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And there are a couple of nuances. And before we go probably into those nuances, I just want to address the elephant in the room because probably all of you received cold emails in your inbox. And sometimes you look at those emails and just like, holy crap, that's ridiculous. So to address the elephant in the room, if you do cold outbound um, not the right way, yeah, it's gonna hurt your brand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you do it the right way, and we're gonna probably talk about that in a second,
Hmm.
um, the beauty of this is that you get additional data from website traffic. So people gonna look up who you are,
Hmm.
um, and this is again just gasoline into fire, and it's just gonna build more brand equity.
Yeah.
And yeah, we can go deeper then into like, okay, what does it actually mean
Yeah.
a good outcome?
No, it's good. Okay. So let's get an example. And Thomas, I want you to give me two examples. I want you to give me an example of, and we're going to start with the bad. So let's start with the bad one
Mhm,
so that everyone can see the difference. What is an example of a bad
mhm.
cold email versus a good cold email?
Beautiful. Let's start with bad. It's going to be very obvious. Let's say you are selling websites.
Hmm.
Let's keep it simple. You're selling websites to, let's say, attorneys.
Hmm.
The first bad component that we see quite often is that people just have wrong lists. AKA, let's say I'm process development company and someone writes a message to me and it's like, hey, we help lawyers or we help attorneys do X. You know right away this person did not do his due diligence.
Yeah.
So wrong targeting. Like all like right away, if that doesn't resonate with the what you actually do, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Um, then when it comes down to copy itself, just bitch slapping. To be frank with you,
Yeah.
just straight up subject line is probably gonna be like, "Hey, quick question." First name, quick question. The
Oh
most
yeah.
ridiculous one that I've seen.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna be like, "Hey, name. I do this, this. I do that, that." So talking about I,
Yeah.
and just bitch slapping. And nobody likes to be sold. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So that's an example. I know, like, I don't
Yeah.
want to get too deep, like, into
No,
wording, but
it's really
just
good.
conceptually, if in the emails someone just talks about themselves, what they can do,
Hmm.
yeah, most of the time it's not gonna work, and the result's gonna be really, really trashy.
Yeah, and you
Um,
know how I usually
no,
respond to those
but
emails and those LinkedIn and actually Facebook ones too? I use the acronym WII. So what's in it? FM. So what's in it for me? And I usually just will put that in and send it back. But that's like
love
what
it.
I always ask. And so you guys can kind of see how this is going. I'm sure you guys think like, okay, great, great about you. What's in it for me? Um, but that's the
That's a
question.
beautiful transition. Yeah,
Yeah.
that actually transitions to what is how does a good cold outbound look like? So
Hmm.
provide value. It's going to be sound super cliche, but let's be more specific. So whenever we send out cold outbound, we create a lead magnet, and I know lead magnet has a annotation to that it's like very salesy, whatever. It's not that type of lead magnet that I'm talking about. It's that we know what problems our ideal client profile or people have, and we actually give away the form. So even on our landing pages for ads, we literally show everything what we do so that way they can implement themselves. And this goes back to Hormoz's book. It was just such a nice validation that there are multiple ways you create that lead magnet, and we chose to just give away the entire information.
Yeah.
Other example would be, let's say, something that zero risk for the prospect. They can test it for free. Like depends where you are with your business, but information works as well. So great lead magnet, and that answers your kind of your question, Danielle, right? Like what's in for me?
Yep.
And if you solve a very, very particular problem, that's the value already.
Yeah.
So there are two ways. One, they're going to be able to solve the problem themselves.
Hmm.
Two, the other benefit is that they're going to trust you because people will judge you on your free stuff rather than
Hmm.
on your paid. And if you're giving away the form right away, you just build more trust. And three, by solving a problem, it's going to open up the next problem. And business is just solving problems of like one problem creates two different problems, right?
Yeah.
So a good example, let's say we solve the issue how to get more sales calls.
Hmm.
Well, awesome. With this, it's going to open up another problem, which is going to be like, cool, now you have all those sales calls. How do you scale up your sales team? How
Yeah.
do you manage to take those
Yeah.
sales calls, aka grow your business? So just to wrap up everything here with Lead Magnet, um, all our messages have something that is very, very valuable if they have a problem. And again, it's going to filter out, like not everyone's going to have that problem.
Hmm.
Put your ideal client profile, if you can solve something for them and it's only their time investment, then they're going to respond like crazy.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're just going to respond with like, hey, awesome, appreciate you. It helped me. And that's good enough to keep the relationship going. And that just circles back to what I said at the beginning. If you do it the right way, you're going to be able to build your brand's, like your company's equity
Yeah.
or goodwill, how
Yeah.
Hormozy calls it.
Yeah.
But yeah, lead magnet,
So
we
good.
do this all the time. Mhm.
It's so good. And it's true, guys, because I mean, some of you guys even got a lead magnet for me before you came in on this call for LinkedIn. Um, so it's just about leading with value. And that makes so much sense because it's almost like those emails that you're sending out are just like, hey, listen, I feel, this is what I've heard. Here's something that will help, you know, please feel free to ask any questions. And I think that people appreciate that because most of the time, if you've nailed it, right, you're giving them a lead magnet. You're giving them support in what is a top of mind challenge for them. And I've heard a lot of people say, like, well, do we want to poke at the challenge? I'm like, if you have the solution that is going to help them sleep at night, yes, give it to them.
And side note to that, Danielle, I just want to mention this. The lead magnet has to be extremely good.
Yeah.
So it can be half-assed. And I've
Yeah.
seen this a couple of times that at the beginning we were like just moving fast, and the relationship is going to depend how good the lead magnet is. If you half solve the problem and let's say not give away the entire information that you truly know that they're going to need to resolve that bottleneck,
Hmm.
then you kind of extracting value from them because they're going to feel like you kind of misled them.
Yeah.
So I can't reiterate enough to, for our clients as well when we create lead magnets, we're gonna reiterate through the lead magnet until it's like phenomenal. So
Yeah.
that way when someone goes through that information or trial, whatever that is,
Hmm.
they're just gonna be blown away. And if that's not the case, well, then it's not good enough. And
Yeah.
we iterate as long as it's needed until it's really killing it.
Yeah. And it's and if I'm hearing you right though, there's always going to be reiterations. Like there's always going
Oh
to
yeah.
be improvements too. Um, so I
Oh yeah,
think
feedback loops.
right,
Mhm.
feedback loop. And I think that people get afraid of like the feedback, like, oh, it must have stopped. I'm like, just tweak it. And sometimes like that feedback is exactly what you need in order to tweak it. So with what you guys are doing with cold email and outbound, you guys are getting that feedback pretty quickly from your analytics, right?
Oh yeah, it's within a couple of days
Yeah.
actually you can
Yeah.
have depends on the again depends on the volume as well, how many emails can you send out. And I do have a very very nice nugget for everyone who thinks that it takes weeks and weeks to ramp up cold email, let's say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share this at the end of this. It's gonna be kind of against the
Aha.
grain. Yeah.
So you guys
Um,
had to stay the whole time
40
just saying.
but long story short, you can get feedback within a couple of days and you're going to
Yep.
know how good the messaging performs.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. I love that. Um, okay, so we're talking about, the cold outbound, how this can really support you understanding. I mean, not just understanding your ideal client, but your more of the target audience within that too. Adding value first, building that trust. And so I love bringing this piece out because a lot of people will think of cold email as like not trustworthy.
Mhm.
They will. And I know that's something that people are like, well, cold email, I mean, isn't that like a no-no? And the way that you're presenting it, it seems like, well, it's actually, how can you not send them a cold email when you have the solution?
Yes, there's one additional point to that. Why a lot of people think that it's like it's kind of weird,
Hmm.
but exactly, because at the same time you would do exactly the same with the lead magnet with ads
Hmm.
or with content. It's exactly the same, but it just gives you a faster feedback loop and a direct one-on-one connection. So, for example, it's way easier to understand what's wrong with your asset, in this case, lead magnet,
Hmm.
if you are approaching a person in a one-on-one setting and ask for the feedback on top of that.
Hmm.
But if you run ads, it's going to be a little bit harder to validate the lead magnet
Hmm.
because you with ads you're going to target your ICP and at the same time people who are not your ICP. And that being said, the feedback from people who are not your ICP,
Hmm.
I would be very very hesitant on taking that feedback because you're not talking to them.
Hmm.
So some people that are not your ICP might not like your lead magnet because they might not even have the problem.
Hmm.
But to circle back to outbound, just because you have the control over your targeting, who you reach out to, you know that these people are the ones that you want to speak to. So that way, the feedback that you're
Yeah.
getting is way more valuable on top of that.
Yeah. So it's
That makes
it's a
sense?
yeah, it's a controlled
Mhm.
environment. That's what it is.
Yes.
It's a controlled environment where because you're choosing who you email, you'll understand the feedback better and you'll be able to, rather than Facebook ads. I mean, yes, you can have a target audience, but it always goes outside of that too. especially if you do lookalike audiences. We won't go down that road because we could probably talk about that and geek out on it too. But with cold email, you're choosing who you email, and based on who you're choosing, you can understand the feedback even better, and then you can take that and you can improve, and you can send out to other people that you choose to send this to and get even better at it. So I love that. That's a really good point. Um,
Yeah, do you mind if I ramp up a little bit on the last component for the email? Because I think this is
yeah,
probably the thing that a lot of people, they try to scale it too fast. And I'm going to explain it in a second. And it's, let's be honest, everyone knows this, that personalization works. Everyone
yeah.
likes to hear about themselves. They like to be complimented. So we know personalization works.
Hmm.
And what I see a lot of businesses when they start cold outbound, they do it the right way at the beginning, where they take their time to research who this prospect is, to really talk about the prospect and really understand who this prospect is. Once someone scales up, sometimes they sacrifice the scale for the personalization. And it works to some degree. It's processes, but there's a sacrifice there. So to keep the ideal situation is that you personalize every single email manually,
Hmm.
but there is this beautiful thing in the last like a year and a half or a year,
Hmm.
which is AI right now. And this is the first time I would say in history that this type of personalization can be achieved at scale with AI
Hmm.
without sacrificing the quality. And that's kind of scary because a lot of yeah, it is to give you a quick context, we had 10 people who were personalizing the list, and right now we don't have those 15 people anymore. We have one single person who sample sizes the personalization, and the personalization is way better
Hmm.
than multiple individuals who have different writing styles.
Yeah.
So it's been since OpenAI released the newest version. It's been ridiculously crazy there.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
I know
reason that
it's a little bit techy.
no,
Yeah.
it's great. So and the reason that Thomas brings this up is, and we'll talk about this here at the end, guys, is that um, we've combined forces here, and there's a system that uses the AI so that each and every email is personalized. So without you having to have somebody do it. So if you think about the manual effort that it takes to personalize thousands of emails, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of money. Um, and one of the things that I love about what Thomas and I are doing is that we're collapsing time. My goodness, does it need to be done? Because everybody's inundated, right? I was just talking to another CEO and talking about all the hats that they're wearing. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's like no time to even sleep, really. No, no, I get about 5 hours a night. I'm like, oh, okay. Would you like more? Um, but this is the power of when you use AI effectively, and um, when you use it in for the good, right? And we're
I
on the
love
good
that
side of
you're
the
saying
force.
this. Oh, I
On
love
the
this.
good side of the force, right?
I love this.
We're not
Yeah.
the dark side, we're the good side. And so AI can be the green lightsaber. And and so that's what this can do for you. Because if you can collapse time in your marketing and effective marketing on top of that, then you can grow and you can scale faster, faster. So whereas every day, every year, we get inundated with more and more content, with more and more people coming in the online space. And, just being able to keep up with that. I mean, I've been in digital marketing for 16 years. I can tell you it is not the same today as it was 16 years ago. Not even close. Not even close. I actually like where it's going because now it's requiring people to be more personalized, more niche, and they're really going to have to find their big differentiator, their big disruption. Um, and I love that
Oh yeah. It
because
needs
it
it needs you to be good.
it needs you got to be good. The cream of the crop rises. And and so, but it also requires more work to be that good. And so this is why I love what Thomas is bringing forward with the outbound and the personalization, because you don't have to give that up and you can still collapse time. So I went
And
on my
and
soapbox a little
there
bit.
Oh, it's perfect because Alex Ramosi in the book and in the on the event, like with the lounge, he was talking about exactly that, right?
Yeah,
That everyone like personalization is key. They personalize everything as well. And he mentioned that AI is probably gonna revolutionize the entire space in the next like couple of years.
yeah,
And it's already started. It already started. So it's Pandora's box. It's already open. So it's just gonna be how do you use this ethically? And
yeah,
this is one of the values that we try to not try. We heavily focus um, to use AI very carefully
yeah.
because it can go south really fast.
It's in the right hands. It's in the right hands of you and your team. I love it. Okay, so you guys are getting kind of a taste of what this can be like for you with just the outbound. So I want to bring in this piece with the inbound marketing, which is LinkedIn. So you guys are here on LinkedIn. Um, Chances are you like the platform, and you're just like, man, I just really like Danielle, and so I'm gonna just bother with LinkedIn for the day. So, but I'm thinking probably 99% of you guys are here because you like LinkedIn and you use LinkedIn. And LinkedIn can be really powerful. So, and one of the things I like the most about LinkedIn is what they're doing with the platform. And what they're doing with the platform isn't the same as what the other social media platforms are doing, in that it is really a popularity contest. And so, I mean, talk about it on TikTok and, I would even say Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. It's a popularity contest, and that's what the algorithm plays with. Now, LinkedIn is shifting this a little bit. And so, what is it that gets you noticed on LinkedIn? Well, it's the quality. It's the quality. It's the quality of how you're putting yourself out there on your platform. It's the quality of the content that you share. It's the quality of the content that you create within the platform, like articles and newsletters. It's the quality of how you participate with the platform. So if you guys haven't started, um, you know, leaving comments on those LinkedIn articles that are actually AI written, I highly suggest doing that because that is showcasing your expertise. LinkedIn is a platform made for experts, not wannabes, but experts. So this is why I love LinkedIn, because it can showcase that. And so, because I work with a lot of experts, one of the hardest things for them is to be seen and appreciated for that expertise. And man, did they come by it hard. I mean, they had to go through a lot to get to where they are. And so when they hopefully I didn't mess with my can you hear me okay, Thomas? I just messed with my microphone mess.
Oh, good.
Okay,
It's
good.
just perfect.
So one of the things that they've said to me, just my ideal clients have come in and said, I'm just like, it's really disheartening to come into the online space and to already be an expert and have nobody new hear you. And so I feel like I'm speaking and nobody's listening. And so this is why I really love where LinkedIn is going. Now with the inbound marketing, you can accelerate that, right? So first thing is that having a highly optimized LinkedIn profile helps. Now, here's where it gets interesting because I'm telling you that my ideal clients are experts. They want to be seen and heard. Here's the twist, though. The way to be seen and heard the most, especially in LinkedIn, is to actually make it about everybody else first. I know it's totally counterintuitive, but here's the thing is that people, if you create a LinkedIn profile, you don't want to create a resume. You actually want to create a profile that is specifically speaking to that ideal client and showcasing how you not only are you the person to talk to because you have the solution and you understand their pain point. That's a big piece of it, but it really is that you understand them. You understand exactly where they are. So taking and merging expertise and not just what you do, but expertise in who your ideal client is and bringing that into a highly optimized LinkedIn profile makes you highly attractive. Um, Even if you don't feel like you're really attractive in your picture, it doesn't matter. Attractive meaning that people come to you. And so when they can do that and when they resonate with you and they feel like, I just feel like this person knows me, guess what they do? They reach out to you and they talk to you in the DMs. They talk to you. They want to learn more. They want to know how you can help them more. And it's highly effective. It's highly effective in inbound marketing. Um, and then you couple that, so an optimized profile with content that is specifically made for that with that ideal client in mind. even, give it to them free, right? Like Alex does. His content, take it all. It's here for you. You up that trust factor so much more and quicker and quicker in a space, the online space, where nobody's trusting anybody. If you have the ability to create trust in the online space without having to talk to somebody, but them just looking at your profile or looking at your messaging, you've got something really special. You've got the secret sauce. So that's why I really love LinkedIn. There's a lot that we do on LinkedIn, but we really are here to help experts be showcased as experts and help the people that most need to hear from them.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's just, a lot of you guys probably have the question is like, okay, how does cold outbound play into LinkedIn?
Hmm.
Um, because you reach out, to business people on via cold outreach, and again, actually, at the end of this, I'm just gonna give a very actionable steps like how you can ramp up outbound yourself
Perfect.
within pretty much like 20 30 minutes, like very actionable steps with links.
Hmm.
And you can test it yourself. You're gonna get first sales calls right away. Um, but how does it play into that is that you reach out to business emails addresses first. And as long as you leverage your LinkedIn profile and link, so basically use the same picture in your on your email, you link in your LinkedIn account to your signature,
Yep.
people gonna look up who you are. And if you don't have your LinkedIn optimized or you just don't have LinkedIn, it decreases trust. But let's say you have LinkedIn and you post content there, you build that relationship, you provide a lot of additional value on there. That's just gonna make it easier for your ideal client profile respond to the email or connect to you directly on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So it plays into each other so nicely if you have both optimized. So
Yeah.
love your LinkedIn game there. Like
Yeah.
this is spot on.
I know we're like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect merge. What's really cool too is that if you have Premium or Sales Navigator here on LinkedIn, you can see everybody that's looking at your profile. I love it. I'm like, oh, I can see you. You didn't even mean for me to see you. So, I mean that's another game we get to play. And I don't mean like I'm gonna play games, mind games. I actually like to play. Like I was just telling Thomas, like, oh, did you listen to Alex's live? I'm like, no, I went to the amusement park with my daughters. I had to play. I had to play, but I listened to it the next day. But I do like to play. So when people are coming in, and looking at my profile, and I can see that they're looking at my profile and then matching it with the cold emailing that's going out, then I can say, I'm like, hey, thanks so much for looking at my profile. I can send them a connection request, or they haven't sent me one yet. And then I can start talking to them in the DM. And they're like, oh my gosh, like not only is this person legit, like they sent me an email, they're legit, they're actually going to talk to me on social media and ask me about myself. Wow, that's like I gotta get to know this person more. I gotta get on a sales call. So it's just when you merge the two of these, there's so much more that you can do after that, which
Yeah.
it may seem like it can get a little hands-on, but actually it doesn't take much at all. And sometimes they beat you to the conversation, or sometimes they beat you to the connection. Sometimes they even need to just go to your LinkedIn profile and see that you're legitimate and that you actually know what you're doing and you have everything to back it up, because LinkedIn does that so beautifully for you. You can put everything you need on there. But then they book the sales call. They book the sales call. So here's a nice little 2023 stat for you guys with LinkedIn is that if you can hook people within the first 4 to 5 seconds on your LinkedIn profile, on average, they're going to spend 7 to 8 minutes on your profile looking at your content. 7 to 8 minutes. You can't even get that on a website. But on LinkedIn, you can get 7 to 8 minutes. And if you've got them for 7 to 8 minutes, I mean, they're impressed. I'll just say that. They're impressed. So,
Yeah, and on top of that, Danielle, like to your point, they're building a direct relationship to
yeah,
you as a person, not necessarily to you as a business, because anonymity is one of the layers that we try to remove as fast as possible in like a business to business relationship.
yeah.
And if they spend like 7 minutes, say, on your content, they get you to know and to like you as a person. Like this is, I think this is probably the biggest sales hack ever. Is just be a goddamn human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I appreciate you sharing this because that's actually I need to step up on that game as well.
We all have our things, right? I had to step up on my cold emailing game too, but it's just this is a big differentiator, guys. And this is why we're having this conversation here on audio so that you guys can really understand the power of the two and not to shy away from either of them. And really when it comes down to sales, right? When it comes down to sales is that there's a lot of different reasons why people will buy. People will buy, and I have like a whole series on this, but people will buy because they see that you have the solution that will make them more competitive. So you've got those buyers. You've got people who are buying because they want to create an impact. They want to create an impact and they see your solution as the way to move them forward to create that impact. You've got people who are very methodical and they like the numbers. They like the analytics. The numbers make sense to them. And oh, by the way, not only do the numbers make sense with the solution that you offer, but the numbers are actually backing up what you're saying. And so there's a big trust factor right there with the analytics. And then you have others that are like, for me, I need to understand that whoever it has an offer or a solution for me, that they're not just blowing smoke up my ass, that they actually care about me as a human being because this is important to me. So you have those buyers too, meaning that they they don't care what you're selling until they know that you care. So you've got all these different types of personas in the online buying perspective, and people can, they can filter over into different categories and all this stuff. So when it comes to combining both of these, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what somebody's buying personality is because you're going to be able to hit all of them. And so that is something that's really difficult to do in any other lead generation tactic if it's just a singular one.
Danielle, if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about what everyone can just take away from this call, actionable steps wise. Because what I like doing is just more or less giving away the form, but in a sense that's like, hey, you guys been listening to us for quite some time right now, and I would
Wow,
love,
they hung in.
to yeah, I would love to provide something that is very tangible and gonna get you because we're talking about how to unlock 15 to 25 sales calls weekly.
Hmm.
It's more than doable. To be frank, we have a
Yeah.
client that is averaging 65 with two sales reps, two additional appointment setters. But where do we start? We start with the 1 to 2 sales calls, just verify that everything works. That what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah.
So what I would like to do is, if you don't mind, I would like to share very actionable steps one by one, and I'm gonna write a comment so that way you guys can go back to this event and just have this in written form. But to give you something that you can take right now, execute on that, and you're gonna have the first meetings booked right away. And then it just gonna be like, awesome, I got 2 calls in the first week. How do we scale up?
Hmm.
Um, this is what we do with AI, but you don't need AI, you don't need to be tech person or at all to get this done. So Danielle, you on board with that? Can I
Oh
just whip
yeah.
through that?
Yeah, let's go. Let's
Mhm.
go.
Beautiful. So first things first, you're gonna need email accounts. And there is very, very at this point I'm gonna be very hard on this. It's a wrong belief that it takes 2 weeks or 3 weeks to send out the first emails
Hmm.
if you do this properly. So there is maybe for someone who is aware of cold email and the saying like, well, you need to warm up the email accounts, the domains, and so on.
Hmm.
It's BS. Um,
Good to
to
know.
give you quick context, yeah, to give you quick context why we know this is at the beginning when we started, we truly believed that, and we always warmed up the email accounts. And at some point, we needed to move super fast. So the idea was we needed 30 email accounts, and instead of waiting for 2 weeks, we purchased 60 email accounts with the idea that we're gonna run the 30 email accounts right away,
Hmm.
wait until they what they call burnout, aka gonna get blocked and everything, and then just dock in the other 30 that are left over. Well, surprise, surprise, the initial 30 never burned through. So
Wow.
by trial and error, we figured it out that the warm-up process can be entirely surpassed. Now I'm gonna give away like how you do that particular as well. So
Hmm.
first things first, you're gonna need email accounts, and I highly, highly suggest you don't be cheap. Go on Google and purchase the domains through Google and use Google Workspace. We tried the same method for any other domain cheap accounts where you can purchase them, ionas.com, all of them burn through, so aka gonna get disabled within a couple of days.
Hmm.
But because majority of the inboxes are on Google's infrastructure,
Hmm.
you can leverage the fact that if you create a domain and create the email account on Google, aka you're directly paying Google, you're gonna have their trust because they screen you from the get-go, which means when you send out emails, you can start sending out right away. To give you quick context, when we onboard our clients, we have campaigns up and running within 48 hours. And we're talking about lead magnet created, copy written, everything. So, first step, just get the domains on Google. Don't cheap out on that. And I'm gonna drop all the links. Good?
So just to clarify real quick, so when he's saying
Uh-huh.
Google, guys, is that you can take a domain that you have purchased and you can create that domain, that email domain by using Google Workspace. Is that right?
Yes. So
That's
ideally, it's domains.google.com.
domains dot,
And what I
oh,
highly
buying it right from, oh, okay, domains
right
dot
from
Google.
Google. Yeah.
Look at that,
Just keep
guys.
everything. Yeah. Just keep everything in Google's infrastructure so they're going to trust you more. And
Yeah,
your life is going to be easier.
yeah,
And another component, I would get 5 domains out of the gate. The reason, like, let's say you are company at .com. Just
yeah.
get company.org, company.net, and so on. The
Yeah.
reason for that is that, yes, you're going to send out cold emails, so you don't want to influence your main domain.
Hmm.
And second one is, where do you send the emails from? And we suggest using instantly.ai. I'm going to drop the link afterwards.
Hmm.
But you dock in those email accounts very, very easily because it's a direct Google connection
Hmm.
and you don't have to worry about the tech stuff.
Hmm.
Instantly takes care of that.
Hmm.
So you have the entire infrastructure set up already to send out emails. Now, the next question is kind of obvious. Where do I build my list? How do I know who's my ICP?
Hmm.
That's a rabbit hole. That's a very, very deep rabbit hole. But there is one application that is very, very good start, which is Apollo.io. If you maybe you guys, some of you are familiar with Zoom Info, it's their direct competitor. But Apollo.io, you can
Apollo.
filter
Apollo.
Apollo. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
drop all the links, no worries.
Okay.
I gonna drop one, two, three, like all the steps, no
Okay.
worries, in written form.
Okay.
But on that software, what you can do is you can filter by company size, by their revenue, by their position, and one of the most interesting is intent. You can even search by intent, meaning let's say you sell websites, and you can find prospects and companies
Mhm.
who are actively looking for that solution right now, which is ridiculously massive when you create your lead magnet.
Yeah.
Once you have all that, you can source all the email accounts. It's literally pennies for what you're getting in ROI from the sales calls.
Hmm.
The next component is obviously the lead magnet. Like, what do you solve for your ICP? And here's where I would spend the majority of my time,
Yeah.
which means create something very, very valuable in two different ways. One is video and then written, because
Yeah.
people like to consume it sound, visual, and reading.
Yeah.
And once you have that, to be honest with you, then the next steps are very, very simple, which is personalize the list, look up their LinkedIn real quick, make a very nice comment to what if they had a promotion, if they, let's say, just change the company, like whatever achievements they have, just compliment on them. And then provide the goddamn lead magnet where it's like, hey, you might be facing this problem right now. I created a full solution for you. Zero, like nothing held back. The entire solution is here.
Yeah.
And you just provide that and just ask how if they like that.
Yeah.
It sounds so ridiculous, but just like ask for goddamn feedback.
Yeah.
Once you have that, you just click send. And to be frank with you, with 5 email accounts, if you just follow these steps and don't half-ass that, you're gonna get 2 to 3 sales calls booked in the first week
Yeah.
for sure. Like we did not see any of our clients that didn't achieve that within first week.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna write everything down so that way you can just jump in. And Danielle, then obviously
Well,
it's
yeah,
your
we'll set it.
expertise to run
We'll
with the
put it
yeah,
all in. We'll put it all in the replay page for you guys, so you guys have it.
beautiful.
So, and I'm just gonna recap for this piece, and then I'll add to it as well. So Google's or domains.google.com. Go and get your
Mhm,
go and get your emails right from there. And I like what you said is
mhm.
like company name, .com, .net, .org, all those things. That would actually make it easier. So get 5 of those. The other thing is that um, when it comes to getting this on, more automated, is it instantly.ai? Did I get that right?
Yes,
Instantly? Yes.
instantly. Instantly.
Instantly.ai. So you want to go and grab that, guys. And that is specifically for them to send out the emails, right? With the email addresses.
Exactly. The so it's a centralized inbox on top of that. So all you
Yeah.
need is that software. You just dock in the email accounts, set up the campaigns, and you have one single inbox that you're gonna see the replies come in.
Perfect.
Very, very simple. And they do have just to clarify why it's so easy, all the software, they have a trial period as well, so you can verify this process very, very cost effective.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, and then to get the list, because you're like, well, I don't even know where to get that. Apollo.io. So
Yes.
APOLLO.io. Just for those that you
Uh,
guys want to run
double
this on.
double P and double L. Apollo.
Oh, two P's. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So APPOLLIO. Okay, got it. So don't worry, guys, if you're like, I didn't get it. We're gonna put it in. We're gonna put it in the replay page and buttons for you. So
Mhm.
we make it all nice and smooth. So that's where you guys can go. And you were saying specifically to look, you can actually look at the intent to find some really good
Yeah.
ideal clients too. So that may be a good one to search for, guys, is the intent when you're using this platform to find the ideal clients. So and you put all three of those together, you guys can start the email campaign. So here's the other thing that you guys can be doing, which I'm so glad that you said it too, because then you can actually couple this with LinkedIn. So if you're sending out emails and then you're also showing up on LinkedIn, you're building that trust even faster. So what's really great is that you can create LinkedIn automation. Yeah, you can do it on automation, guys, where you can take those email addresses and find these guys on LinkedIn faster and connect with them too. So this is kind of why we're like, oh, we got to put our stuff together. So with LinkedIn, you can do this. You can actually do this right on LinkedIn if you don't want to get an application. So if you want to go ahead and start finding these guys, you can take those emails. And if you guys go into my network on LinkedIn, and then you can go into, and I just got to give me a second, contacts, because I'm gonna talk to you guys about it while I'm talking to you guys. So if you go into network and then you go into contacts, if you look over to the right, there's export contacts and manage sync contacts, right? So there's those pieces as well. You also have saved contacts. So you can look through all this stuff as well. You can and then if you go to the save contacts, which is in the left-hand side, so you guys can export your contacts on the right and manage sync contacts. You want to go ahead and sync because you can get people from Facebook too. But on the left at the top, save contacts, right now mine says Facebook, yours could say Google. If you go down to uploaded contacts, that will actually take you guys to some of the ones that are uploaded as well. So it's just kind of showing you guys all these things. And then what I like to do after this, and I'm just looking around here, is I like to go and just see what I have and what I don't have. And then I like to go back to the right. Which one did I press? Sorry. I'm just trying to find and manage sync contacts. And then I can go ahead and upload contacts from that. So you can do it from your phone. You can do it from Google. You can actually manually do it right from that page as well. So you can take all those emails that you find on Apollo and you can upload them here and then send the search off to LinkedIn without getting um, without getting in trouble from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn will only let you do 100 connection requests per week. Now, if you do just the email, it's a little manual, um, but you can just put all those emails in there and then it starts a connection request that way. And you can also sync up your
Beautiful.
other platforms as well. So there's the LinkedIn hack and set. And if you guys are using
I,
the,
I want to add on
yeah,
top of
isn't
that
that
something.
great?
So yeah, if so how does that work really nicely with cold email is that on, let's say, on instantly on that platform, you're gonna be able to see who opened the emails and
Hmm.
export the email accounts and their LinkedIn profiles directly from the software. So
Yep.
to combine with your approach, like you can have you can see prospects intent, so the people who reach out via email,
Yeah.
and see who opened the email and send the connection request to them particularly, because you know that they at least saw your email and opened the email. So it's combining email behavior with your LinkedIn approach.
Which is even better, guys, because you can do like you can actually do a lot of this right through Google, and then you have the other platforms. So I mean, you think that maybe they'll probably get more than two or three if they do both of those together.
Yep,
It's because it's like, oh,
pretty sure. Yeah.
this person's like really top of mind now. So, so we gave you guys some hacks that, I mean, you guys can do this. You guys can do this yourself. Absolutely. And we have the replay, so we'll send it out to everybody, as well. Is there any, I know we're a little over. I really appreciate you guys hanging with us. Is there anything you wanted to add, Thomas, on top? I know you got like really excited, like, oh, but you could do this and then it's even better. I love it.
Yeah, that's, I don't want to make it too complicated. It's all about, we're giving away the form more or less. It's like, hey, all the steps. If you do this, you're gonna get the first well, the first wins right away. And how I like to frame it to our potential clients as well, it's like, hey, we give away the form, but we sell the execution and the scale.
Yeah.
So I know I went a little bit deeper because each thing that you say, Daniela, it just like sparkles additional. It's like, oh, we've done this already, like a couple of those things. So I hope I didn't get too deep into nitty gritty here. And let's just keep the complexity super low, get you
Yeah.
guys the first wins, and then let's talk about scale.
Yeah. And you know what, guys? It's okay. It's okay too if you're like trying to scribble notes and like, oh my gosh, I missed all that. Don't worry about it because we're gonna send you guys all the replay, right? So I'll have this all nice and packaged up on a nice little page and all the links that we were telling you guys about and the instructions for you so that you have a step by step. Now here's a really cool thing is that Thomas and I are actually we do this for our clients. And we do both of these pieces because when you combine both the outbound and the inbound, it is really powerful and you scale really fast. Um, so we actually have that offer. So if you guys are like, this is really amazing, I want to talk more about this, and you're going to have the opportunity on the replay page to go ahead and set up a call with us to learn and see if this is a really good piece to start putting in place for your company. So yeah, don't worry about
That's it.
scribbling the notes, guys. We got you on
Yeah.
that. We got you on that. We're going to send it out, but also you guys can talk to us more if you want to learn how we could actually help you implement this because you can take all the steps too, but sometimes it just really helps to have people who know all the little details and all the things that make this work beautifully for you so that you can have, if you want, 15 to 25 calls or more. Did you say one of your clients did 60 sales calls a week? Wow.
Yeah, around 65. Yeah, averaging
65
65. Yeah, so
average.
it's average, right? So we have weeks that are reaching 80, but then we have weeks that we like, okay, 37, 30, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Um, there's additional fluctuation, but yeah, the scale again, to your point, Danielle, it's like when I speak to potential clients, there's always two types of clients, right? So one, a client who's like, hey, we know it works. We already did the first steps. We just don't know how to scale this up.
Yeah.
And the other component is like, cool, we have the steps, but we simply super busy.
Hmm.
We just can't implement everything ourselves.
Yep.
So those are the two types, like where we found the most success with.
Yeah.
And the reason we're giving away this form is just like, guys, you can just test it like real quick and just see like, oh, okay, this is actually working really well.
Yeah.
It's way easier to work that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we want you guys to have all the information so guys can actually say, wow, this wasn't, this is actually worth my time to stay on the whole time. So we appreciate you guys coming on.
Oh, I appreciate
And
it.
just know I'm gonna get all this together. It is an audio replay. Just know it's an audio replay so you guys can listen in, which is even better because you can listen to it in more places if you have the audio. You don't have to watch the video because there isn't any. But I'm also going to put all this information that Thomas and I dropped underneath the video. And then if you want to set up a call with us, you can, and we can talk more
A
about
discovery
working with you.
call. Yeah, a discovery call. We would just like, if you already implemented the things that we talked about, phenomenal.
Yeah.
We can just review and just see like, cool, what would be the next steps to scale it up? Or if you're extremely busy and like, oh damn it, like that sounds great, but I just don't have time to implement that.
Yeah.
Then it's just more or less a roadmap call where it's like, cool, this is how it would look like. It's
Yeah.
very, very straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You guys can ask questions too. Okay, so thank you guys. I know we're like 10 minutes over. We so appreciate
Oh
you.
wow.
And I know that went fast, didn't it? Um, and yeah, just keep a lookout in your DMs and we'll send the links and everything for you guys. So that you didn't have to scribble too much on a notepad or type on your computer. We're gonna send it to you, okay? All right.
Right.
Um,
Appreciate you, Danielle, for having me
you,
on.
you too, Thomas. All right, guys. We will talk in the
Appreciate you
DMs
on.
too soon.
Take care.